Hey everyone, this is your Entrep guru, Avinash Ramsabag, and today we're going to take a look at market research. So, what is market research? It's the process of gathering, analyzing, and interpreting information about a market, including potential customers, competitors, and the industry as a whole. So, what do we do it for? We want to make sure that we can easily target our market in terms of our promotional strategies and also in terms of making informed and strategic decisions. Primary purpose of market research is to gather valuable insights that can be used to make informed decisions. So you would want to be able to know things such as what customers prefer, what are the trends in the market, what are the ways in which our competitors are differing from us, and how do we gain that competitive advantage. We will also want to know in terms of our product, how we can maybe adjust the features of the product to suit the needs of the customer. Benefits of conducting market research includes understanding the customer properly, as we would have discussed before, strategic planning, so to make sure that you make effective decisions and to be able to especially make our effective strategies with regards to marketing our product. We are looking at risk reduction. So by doing market research, what happens is that it reduces the level of risk because we know more details about our market and how to cater for that market. It helps in terms of us developing a product properly and one that suits the need of the market. We're looking at competitive advantage, so being able to find that unique selling point that sets us apart from our competitors. We look at our targeted marketing, so we can actually do what we call a niche marketing strategy instead of looking at a general marketing strategy. We can optimize our resources, so therefore we don't put we don't have resources into areas that may not necessarily be making us as much a profit as we need, and we can also help in terms of our growth strategy later on. There are 7 key elements of market research, and the first one that we take a look at is our product characteristics. So what happens is that from market research, we will be able to get an idea of exactly what customers want from us. So we will be able to determine the features of our product itself or service. We will be able to determine what benefits that product or service should have, what should be the quality or the desired quality of it, how the packaging should be, and also what exactly could be our unique selling point, which is something that will keep coming up all the time. The importance of it is that it helps us in understanding what will set us apart from the competitors. It guides our decisions when it comes to development of our product, and it can aid in crafting effective marketing messages. So therefore, we know what can we put in our marketing messages that will attract persons to our business. We take a look at market analysis now. So when we do market research, we will be able to get an idea of how the market is. So this will include being able to determine the market size, what are the potential growth, what is the potential ability to grow this business, and what are the trends that we might see. So you get to have a bigger picture in terms of our strategic decisions, and it helps in terms of opportunities and potential threats in the market. We are able also to get our expected sales trends. So we will be able to take into consideration past data in order to predict what will happen in the future. We will be able to determine our market trends and also be able to determine what our customer behavior would most likely be. So what it does, it helps you set realistic sales targets, and therefore you will be able to determine your revenue projections, which can help us in terms of drafting our business model and eventually our business plan. It assists in terms of planning production and inventory levels also. The next area is that we have customer analysis. And with customer analysis, we will be able to get a better understanding of our target audience. We can be able to develop what we call a customer profile from this. So we will be able to understand the demographics of our customer in terms of things such as age, gender, income levels, population distribution. We will be able to understand behavioral patterns. So in that case, we will be able to understand how customers may behave when it comes to the launch of our product. And then also maybe the psychographics behind those, because what we'll be able to tell is what is the reasoning behind that behavior. We will be able to also be able to determine the geographics in terms of where our customers are located and exactly what their preferences are. In that case, we will be better able to cater for that customer segment and also identify unmet needs or opportunities. Promotional strategies also involves pricing also, so which is one of the 7. But in this case here, what we are looking at is that we will be able to focus on exactly how are we going to promote our product itself. So it will include things such as our advertising channels. What channels are we using itself to advertise, such as radio, television, social media? What exactly is the message that we're going to put? What are our pricing strategies, and also sales promotion? So how are we actually going to maybe attract people to more come in to buy our product and stuff, such as offering discounts, buy one, get one free, and strategies like that. So what happens is that it ensures that the product reaches the right target audience, and it helps in terms of maximizing our marketing efforts and taking into consideration our budgetary constraints. The last area that we'll look at is the nature and level of competition. So in this case now, what we will be able to do is be able to understand exactly what our competitive landscape is like. Who exactly are our competitors? And please note that there can be direct and indirect competitors. So direct competitors may be in the same field that you are in. However, we may have indirect competitors, which may be a substitute for what you are offering. So in addition to that, you'll be able to determine their strengths and weaknesses, and also how much of the market they dominate. So you will be able to get an idea of how much you can actually aim for. So what happens is that it helps you in positioning your product better, and it also guides you with decisions on pricing and differentiation. So again, we bring back up this whole idea of developing your unique selling point that will set you apart from your competitors. We move on now to the cost-benefit analysis approach to market research. Now, what we always have to make sure is that we evaluate what are the costs incurred in conducting market research against the benefits gained from the insights gathered. Now, you don't want to know that at the end of the day, you are spending, let's say, $500,000 on market research, and then afterwards, the benefits that you can gain from that is only $200,000. In that case, it may not make sense at times to actually engage in this type of market research. So the importance of this is that it helps you assess whether investing in it makes sense or not, and whether or not you should actually put out so much of your resources in order to do or conduct market research. We move on now to the stages in the market research process. The first stage in the market research process is your aim or problem. Now, this is the first stage in the market research process. And what we are looking at is that we want to be able to clearly define what our problem is. Now, in that case, now you want to know the actual problem. Sometimes we see an issue, but we don't know what the source of the problem is. So the point here is that you want to be able to get to the source of the problem, because that is what you need to examine. So, for example, you may realize that your profitability has decreased, and you may launch a market research in order to determine why it is your profitability has decreased. But it may not actually be that is your main problem. Your main problem could actually be that there was a decrease in demand. And therefore, that might be what you need to examine, and not just profitability, because it will be a bit too wide in terms of your research. So you have to identify exactly where your boundaries are, or the scope of your research. The next area is your research objectives. And for those of you who have done your SBA and stuff already, you will know that with any type of research, you have to set objectives, because it helps guide you. And in one of my previous videos, I would have mentioned about objectives having to be SMART, meaning specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So you always try to make sure that you set objectives because it will help you set a sense of direction for where your research wants to go. We also take a look at our research design. And in this case now, you are going to try to choose in terms of what type of research are you doing, whether it is exploratory, meaning that you are not sure what the real issue, what the real cause of the issue is. So you're going to be exploring. You can do a descriptive study. In that case, let's say you want to be able to determine the features or the characteristics of a market. That descriptive research can assist in terms of doing so. And also you can also do a causal research, which is what we call cause and effect, right? And you also would want to be able to determine how you're going to go about doing this research. So you may look at how you're going to collect your data via surveys, interviews, or observations, and also you may look at trying to design your questionnaires. In terms of your research methods, you would want to determine whether you are looking for primary or secondary data. What is your sampling method itself that you are going to use? There are many different sampling methods, whether it is random sampling, stratified random sampling, convenience sampling, purposive sampling. There are many different methods, but you will need to decide which one exactly you're going to use, and then finalize on your data collection tools and how you're going to go about doing so. In terms of sampling, you want to ensure that you know what is your target population so that you will be able to understand out of the target population, who are you going to sample? And determining that sample size is very important because it has to be reflective of the population. So for example, if you know that your population is made up of 60% females and 40% males, then your sample size should also reflect that same thing. After that, you can go on and actually engage in your actual data collection. So in this case now, you're actually collecting the data, you're doing your interviews, you're doing your questionnaires, you're doing observations, but you always have to make sure that you ensure that there's integrity in the collection of the data and there's reliability. So it should be free from bias. So therefore, persons who are collecting that data should be trained in terms of how to collect the data. Your instrument should also be evaluated to ensure that there is no bias in any of them. In terms of your data analysis, you would want to use appropriate tools in order to evaluate your data, in order to do a proper analysis and evaluation. So therefore, sometimes it is that you can use actual tools such as SPSS, statistical packages for social sciences. Some persons have used things such as Minitab and stuff, but for students, I mean, simple stuff such as Excel can actually help in terms of assisting to summarize the data and analyze the data. Afterwards, you can do an evaluation of it. Once it is that you have analyzed and evaluated the data, then you can report it to persons who we would consider to be stakeholders. So therefore, these are the people who the data will be relevant to. So in this case now, we would want to determine our report, figure out how to do the report. So in this case, you will present what was your methodology, your findings, conclusion, and recommendations. Now, again, if you think back about your SBA, you would realize that this is the manner in which your SBA has been presented. So, and in this case, when you are doing it, you want to ensure that there's clarity in terms of what you present. There's coherence, meaning that there's a smooth flow in terms of what the data is saying, what is the evaluation of that data, and then afterwards, what is the conclusion based on those evaluations. And visual aids actually help in terms of making sure that persons understand that data. And finally, we look at our conclusion. So what we try to do is that we try to analyze the patterns and conclude based on what were our initial objectives. So we want to take a look back at our objectives and make sure that we have answers to those. Now, this is the end of my presentation. I want to thank you very much. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Entrep Guru. This is Avinash Ramsabag. Bye.